It was a bright afternoon, and the studio was buzzing with energy. The lights were warm, the cameras were rolling, and Steve Harvey was standing at the center of it all, as confident as ever. He had been hosting live shows for decades, and he knew exactly how to keep his audience engaged, laughing, and entertained. Today, however, there was a special air in the studio, something unusual that even Steve could feel. The show was meant to celebrate people who had inspired others. There were families, community workers, and ordinary people with extraordinary stories all waiting backstage. The audience was a mix of loyal fans and first-time viewers, all eagerly waiting to see what surprises the show had in store. Steve had a reputation for turning even ordinary moments into unforgettable memories, and people expected nothing less from him. As the show progressed, Steve moved from one story to another. He listened carefully, laughed, and occasionally wiped away tears when the stories touched his heart. The energy in the studio was warm, genuine, and alive. Everyone could feel the sincerity in his reactions, the way he truly valued the stories shared on stage. He had a way of making people feel seen and heard, even on a massive platform like live television. Then came the moment that would surprise everyone. The cameras suddenly switched to a different angle, and a familiar face appeared on the screen. It was Keanu Reeves, the actor known worldwide for his humility, kindness, and quiet, gentle demeanor. The audience gasped, a mixture of excitement and disbelief spreading through the room. Some people whispered to each other, unable to believe what they were seeing. Others simply stared, wide-eyed, unsure if their eyes were playing tricks on them. Steve's own reaction was a mix of amusement and curiosity. He raised an eyebrow, a smile slowly forming on his face. "Well, now, this is a surprise," he said, speaking directly to the camera. The audience laughed softly, echoing Steve's words. There was something about Keanu appearing on a live television show that felt completely unexpected yet perfectly natural. Even though he was thousands of miles away, his presence filled the studio, and it was clear that everyone was paying close attention. Keanu looked calm and collected, sitting in a quiet room that reflected his simple and modest personality. There were no flashy backgrounds, no dramatic lighting, just him, looking directly at the camera with a gentle smile. His eyes carried warmth and sincerity, the kind that could make anyone feel instantly at ease. He began speaking, his voice soft but steady, capturing the attention of everyone in the studio. "Hello, Steve," he said, and his tone carried a quiet reverence. "I hope you're doing well today." The audience reacted with a mix of applause and murmurs of excitement. Steve, ever the professional, chuckled lightly, leaning toward the camera. "I'm doing fine," he replied. "But I have to say I'm a little surprised to see you here. What brings you to my show today?" Keanu's smile deepened, but there was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. "I wanted to share something personal with you," he said. "Something I haven't really talked about before, but I felt it was important to tell you." The audience grew quiet, sensing that this was no ordinary television moment. Even Steve's usual confident demeanor softened, replaced by curiosity and a subtle sense of anticipation. Keanu paused for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. "There was a time in my life," he began, "when I felt lost. Things weren't going the way I had hoped. I was struggling with choices, feeling unsure about my path, and honestly, I felt very alone at times." His voice was steady, but there was a quiet vulnerability that struck everyone watching. The audience leaned in, captivated by his honesty. Steve listened intently, his usual humor giving way to empathy. He had heard many personal stories in his career, but there was something different about hearing this from someone like Keanu Reeves. The actor, despite all his fame and success, was opening up in a way that felt rare and genuine. The studio was silent, everyone focused on the screen, feeling the weight and sincerity of Keanu's words. "I remember watching clips of your motivational talks online," Keanu continued. "I didn't know you personally, and I didn't even imagine you would know me, but hearing your words, it gave me hope. It reminded me that even when things seem dark or impossible, there is always a way forward. It reminded me that I wasn't truly alone, that someone out there understood what it was like to struggle and still keep moving." The audience reacted softly, moved by the unexpected depth of the moment. There were subtle nods, quiet gasps, and a few teary eyes. Steve's own expression shifted. He had always known the power of words, but hearing that someone of Keanu's stature had been inspired by him was deeply touching. He opened his mouth to speak, but paused, letting the moment linger. Allowing the sincerity to fully resonate, Keanu continued, his voice gentle but filled with meaning. "There's a specific line you once said that really stuck with me. You said, 'You are never too old to reinvent yourself.' Those words, they stayed with me. They gave me courage to try new things, to believe in myself again, and to keep pursuing my goals, even when the path seemed unclear." He looked directly at Steve, and for a moment it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. Steve's eyes widened slightly, and he placed a hand over his heart. The words were unexpected, yet they resonated deeply. He had spent years inspiring people, sometimes never knowing who exactly had been affected. Hearing that someone he admired and respected had found encouragement in his words was humbling and emotional. He could feel a lump forming in his throat, a rare moment where he was speechless. Keanu smiled softly. "I just wanted to thank you, Steve. You may not even realize the impact you have, but your words mattered to me when I needed them the most. You helped me remember who I am, and for that I am truly grateful." The sincerity in his tone was undeniable, and the audience could feel it as if the message was being shared directly with them as well. Steve finally found his voice, his own emotions evident. "Keanu, wow," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "I never imagined that anything I said could reach someone like you. You've inspired so many people already, yet hearing that my words helped you, that's incredible. I thank you for sharing that with me. It means more than I can say." The audience erupted into applause, some standing, some wiping their eyes. It was a rare moment of pure human connection, a reminder that even on a stage designed for entertainment, real emotion could shine through. People watching at home would later describe this as one of the most touching live television moments they had ever seen. For Steve, the moment was deeply personal. He had spent his career motivating others, often without knowing the true reach of his words. Yet here was someone he admired, someone whose work had touched the world, openly expressing how Steve had quietly influenced his life. It was humbling, affirming, and emotional all at once. Keanu concluded the message with a gentle nod, his eyes soft with warmth. "Keep doing what you do, Steve. You never know who is listening or who may need your words more than they know. You changed my life, even from afar, and I hope you know how important that is." The camera lingered on Steve's face, capturing a rare moment of vulnerability. He smiled, tears glistening in his eyes, feeling a mixture of gratitude, surprise, and deep connection. "Thank you, Keanu," he said softly. "Truly, thank you." The segment ended, but the impact lingered. The audience remained silent for a few seconds before erupting into cheers, fully aware that they had witnessed something extraordinary. Even after the camera stopped rolling, the memory of the moment stayed with everyone present, a testament to the power of honesty, humility, and genuine human connection. In the days that followed, clips of the segment went viral online. People shared the story across social media, praising both Steve and Keanu for their openness and sincerity. Viewers expressed how moved they were, how the moment reminded them that even small gestures, kind words, or messages of encouragement could have a profound effect on someone's life. For Steve, the experience was unforgettable. It reminded him why he continued doing what he did, why he shared motivational words with millions, and why he believed in the power of connection. For Keanu, it was a chance to express gratitude and acknowledge someone who had quietly helped him through a difficult time. For everyone watching, it was a lesson in empathy, kindness, and the extraordinary power of genuine words. It was just the beginning of a story that would be told and retold, not because of celebrity or fame, but because it captured something deeply human. It was a story of respect, gratitude, and the emotional bond that can exist even between people who have never met in person. And it all started with a simple message, delivered with sincerity on a live television show, that no one in that studio and no one watching at home would ever forget. After that surprising live moment, the studio was buzzing with energy, but there was also a quiet sense of reflection in the air. Steve Harvey sat in his chair, still processing the heartfelt words he had just heard from Keanu Reeves. The applause had died down, but the emotional weight of the message lingered. Everyone in the audience could feel it. There was something rare and special happening. It was one of those moments that made people stop and think, moments that reminded them of the power of human connection. Keanu's words had struck a chord, not only with Steve but with everyone watching. The way he spoke about his struggles, about feeling lost and alone, was so relatable. Despite his fame, his honesty made him feel real and approachable. The audience leaned in, remembering their own times of doubt and hardship, understanding that even someone as accomplished as Keanu had faced similar moments. It was a reminder that no one is immune to challenges and that seeking support or inspiration is part of being human. Steve, meanwhile, was trying to gather his thoughts. He had spent decades motivating people, encouraging them to be their best selves, to push through obstacles and to believe in their potential. But hearing that someone he admired, someone who had inspired millions, had drawn strength from his words in a very personal way, left him deeply moved. He realized that his messages had traveled farther than he had imagined, touching lives in ways he might never fully understand. The conversation continued, with Keanu sharing more about the period in his life that had been particularly challenging. He described it as a time when everything seemed uncertain. Career decisions, personal struggles, and the pressure of public expectations all felt overwhelming. He admitted that he had moments when he doubted himself, when he wondered if he could continue on the path he had chosen. It was a very human and vulnerable confession, one that made the audience sit up and take notice. Keanu explained how, during that difficult time, he would often find himself watching motivational talks, interviews and clips that could give him a sense of direction. It was during one of these moments that he came across Steve's speeches. Even though Steve was thousands of miles away, speaking to people he would never meet, his words resonated deeply. Keanu recalled feeling an unexpected sense of comfort and clarity. It was as if Steve was speaking directly to him, even though they had never met in person. He went on to describe a particular instance, when he was struggling with a major career decision. The pressure of expectations from fans, colleagues, and the industry was intense. He felt paralyzed by fear and uncertainty, unsure if he was making the right choices. Then he remembered a line from one of Steve's motivational clips. "You are never too old to reinvent yourself." Those words repeated in his mind, and something shifted inside him. It wasn't a sudden miracle, but a quiet, steady reassurance that gave him the courage to move forward. Keanu spoke slowly, carefully choosing his words, and his sincerity was evident in every sentence. "It wasn't just about my career," he said. "It was about believing in myself, even when it felt like everything was against me." Those words reminded me that I could start over, that I could try something new without fear. And that feeling, that sense of possibility, it changed everything. Steve listened, captivated. His own heart was swelling with a mix of pride and emotion. He realized that what he had always hoped for, helping people, inspiring them, was exactly what had happened, but in a way he could not have predicted. He had spoken to audiences for years, often thinking about the impact of his words in a general sense. Hearing a specific example from someone as thoughtful and accomplished as Keanu Reeves made the experience incredibly personal and real. The studio was quiet now, the audience completely absorbed. Some people had tears in their eyes, some had hands clasped together, and others simply watched in silence, feeling the depth of the moment. There was a shared understanding among everyone present. This wasn't just a television segment. It was a rare glimpse into the power of genuine human connection. Keanu continued, sharing how this small, seemingly simple message had guided him in ways he had not anticipated. It had encouraged him to take risks, to embrace new challenges, and to trust himself. He described a project he had been hesitant to pursue, one that required him to step out of his comfort zone and face potential failure. The fear was real, the doubts were loud, but the memory of Steve's words gave him the confidence to move forward. Realize that inspiration doesn't always come from someone close to you, Keanu explained. Sometimes it comes from someone you admire from afar, someone you may never meet, but whose words touch you in a profound way. It reminded me that support can come from unexpected places and that even small words can carry enormous power. Steve's expression softened even more. He was used to receiving compliments and gratitude, but this was different. It wasn't just appreciation. It was a story of transformation. He could see that his words had not only comforted Keanu, but had actively shaped a period of his life, helping him find courage and direction when he needed it most. For Steve, that realization was deeply moving. The conversation then turned to the idea of mentorship, even indirect mentorship. Keanu explained that, in many ways, Steve had been a mentor to him without ever knowing it. The encouragement, the humor, and the wisdom embedded in Steve's talks had quietly guided him. It was a reminder that mentorship doesn't always happen in person. Sometimes it is the words we put into the world, the lessons we share openly, that influence someone else's life profoundly. Keanu shared how this experience had inspired him to be more mindful of his own words and actions. He had realized that the things we say, even casually or indirectly, can have a lasting effect on others. It was a lesson in responsibility, humility, and kindness. He spoke about the importance of using one's platform, no matter how large or small, to encourage, uplift, and inspire others. Steve was visibly touched. He nodded, acknowledging the truth in Keanu's words. He understood now that his work carried weight beyond the immediate laughter, applause, or entertainment. There was a real human impact, a ripple effect that extended far beyond the studio walls. The conversation became a reflection on the meaning of influence, the importance of empathy, and the unseen ways in which people touch each other's lives. The audience remained completely engaged. Many people in the studio were moved to tears, while others simply sat in awe of the connection unfolding before them. It was a rare, unguarded moment, one that transcended celebrity or fame. It was about human beings speaking to one another, sharing truth, gratitude, and vulnerability. Everyone present could feel the authenticity, the emotion, and the significance of the moment. Keanu concluded by emphasizing the importance of gratitude and acknowledgement. He said that expressing appreciation, even for small gestures or words that may seem insignificant to others, is vital. It closes a circle of positivity, allowing both the giver and the receiver to experience the power of human kindness. His words were simple yet profound, leaving a lasting impression on everyone listening. Steve, overcome with emotion, responded with humility and warmth. He expressed his gratitude for Keanu's honesty and for sharing his personal story so openly. He acknowledged the rare and special nature of the moment, recognizing that it was not often that someone of Keanu's stature would take the time to reveal such vulnerability. It was a reminder that even the most successful people face struggles, and that sharing those struggles can inspire others in return. As the conversation came to a close, the audience erupted into applause once more. This time it was louder, more heartfelt, a recognition of the genuine humanity on display. People cheered not just for the celebrities involved, but for the powerful, emotional exchange that had taken place. It was a moment that transcended entertainment, a reminder of why human stories matter so deeply. The segment would later be shared across social media, with viewers around the world praising both Keanu and Steve for their openness and sincerity. People commented on how rare it is to witness such raw emotion on live television, and how meaningful it was to see someone express gratitude so thoughtfully. Many shared their own experiences of being inspired by others from afar, creating a ripple of shared stories and human connection. For Steve, the moment became a personal reminder of why he does what he does. It reinforced his belief in the power of words, the importance of empathy, and the lasting impact that encouragement can have. For Keanu, it was an opportunity to publicly acknowledge someone who had helped him navigate a difficult period in his life. And for the audience, it was an unforgettable lesson in kindness, humility, and the extraordinary ways in which people can touch each other's lives, even after the cameras stopped rolling. The impact of the conversation stayed with everyone present. People spoke about it quietly, reflecting on their own lives and the moments when someone's words had guided or comforted them. It was one of those rare experiences where entertainment and genuine human connection merged seamlessly, creating a memory that would be cherished long after the episode aired. In the days that followed, viewers around the world discussed the exchange. News outlets covered the story, highlighting the emotional honesty between two individuals who had never met in person before but had. The studio was silent now, a quiet tension filling the air as Keanu Reeves continued speaking directly to Steve Harvey. His words were calm, measured, but every sentence carried a weight that made everyone lean in closer, as if afraid to blink and miss a single detail. It was clear that this was more than a casual conversation. It was something deeper, more personal, and the audience could feel it. Even Steve, who had seen thousands of stories unfold on live television, seemed to be holding his breath, caught in a moment of sincere human connection. Keanu's voice softened, almost reverent, as he began to speak about a particular time in his life that had been especially challenging. He described a period when he felt unmoored, unsure of where he was headed, and overwhelmed by the expectations of both his career and life in general. He shared that he had often wondered if he was making the right choices, if his efforts would ever lead to meaningful outcomes, and if he was truly capable of living the life he imagined for himself. There was no pretense in his words, no attempt to impress or entertain, just pure honesty. He paused for a moment, letting the gravity of his confession sink in. The studio was completely still, every eye on him, every ear straining to catch the nuance in his tone. Even those who were familiar with Keanu's calm, composed public persona were surprised by the raw vulnerability he displayed. For many, it was a reminder that beneath fame and success, every human being experiences doubt, fear, and moments of quiet struggle. I remember a night, Keanu continued, when I felt completely overwhelmed. I was facing decisions that could change the course of my life, and I didn't know if I had the strength to make the right choice. Everything felt heavy, and I wondered if I would ever find the clarity I needed. His words were soft but steady, carrying an emotional depth that resonated with everyone in the room. The audience felt as though they were sharing the experience with him, living through those moments of uncertainty. Then, in a quiet but firm voice, Keanu spoke about how he stumbled upon one of Steve's motivational clips. It was one of those moments where timing seemed almost magical. He recalled watching Steve speak words of encouragement about believing in yourself, staying true to your path, and remembering that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. One line in particular struck him with unexpected force: "You are never too old to reinvent yourself." Those words echoed in his mind long after the clip ended. They were simple, yet profound, and they seemed to speak directly to him, even though Steve had no idea who he was or that he was listening. Keanu explained how those words planted a seed of courage within him. They reminded him that change is always possible, that starting over does not mean failure, and that it is never too late to pursue what truly matters. The audience listened intently, captivated by the honesty and relatability of Keanu's story. Many of them nodded, some softly wiping away tears, recognizing the universal truth in his experience. Even Steve was visibly moved, his usual composed demeanor giving way to a mixture of humility and emotion. He could feel the impact of his words in a way he had never experienced before, seeing firsthand how something he had said, perhaps years ago, had touched someone so deeply. Keanu continued, describing how he had carried that message with him through the challenges that followed. He talked about specific moments when fear and doubt tried to take over, when it seemed easier to give up than to persevere. Yet, each time he felt himself slipping, he remembered Steve's words, and they gave him the strength to move forward. They reminded him that even small steps, taken with courage and conviction, could lead to meaningful change. He spoke about a project that had initially terrified him, a venture that required him to take risks and confront uncertainty. The fear was almost paralyzing, but he recalled the quiet reassurance he felt from those words of encouragement. I realized, Keanu said softly, that the courage to keep going doesn't always come from a grand moment of revelation. Sometimes it comes from hearing someone else's words at the right time, from knowing that someone else has seen value in you even when you struggle to see it yourself. Steve's eyes glistened as he listened, the weight of the moment pressing gently on his heart. He had spent a lifetime inspiring people, often without ever knowing the personal impact of his words. Now, hearing a detailed account from someone he admired greatly, he understood more clearly than ever the true significance of speaking from the heart. It wasn't just about performance, laughter, or entertainment. It was about touching lives in ways that could be quiet, personal, and transformative. Keanu paused for a moment, letting the emotion settle, and then spoke about gratitude. He shared how important it was for him to express thanks to those who had guided him, even indirectly. Steve had been a silent mentor, offering wisdom and encouragement without ever realizing it, and acknowledging that impact felt essential. Keanu explained that gratitude, even when expressed after the fact, has a way of strengthening the bonds between people and spreading positivity further than anyone could anticipate. He leaned slightly forward toward the camera, as if reaching across the distance to convey his sincerity. "I wanted you to know," he said, "that your words mattered to me when I needed them the most. You may never have known, and perhaps you never imagined it, but what you said gave me hope. It reminded me that I am capable, that I am resilient, and that I can keep moving forward even when things feel impossible." The audience was captivated by the raw sincerity in his voice. Some people sat silently, tears glistening in their eyes, moved by the depth of the story. Others exchanged glances, silently acknowledging that this was a rare and extraordinary moment to witness on live television. Even those who had never been fans of either Steve or Keanu felt the emotional weight of the exchange, understanding the universal truth about hope, courage, and human connection. Steve, feeling the emotions swell inside him, struggled to speak for a moment. His voice was thick with emotion, and his usual humor gave way to genuine humility. "Keanu," he said softly, "I can't tell you how much it means to hear that. You have inspired millions, yet knowing that something I said helped you, it's more than I could ever expect. I am truly honored." Keanu smiled gently, his eyes reflecting both calmness and gratitude. "It's not about honor," he said. "It's about connection. It's about realizing that our words, when shared sincerely, can reach people we may never even meet. That connection, even from afar, can shape someone's life in ways we might never fully understand." He continued, emphasizing the ripple effect of encouragement. Small acts of kindness, a few words of advice, or even a brief message can travel far beyond what we imagine. He spoke about the responsibility that comes with influence, the importance of being mindful of the words we share, and the quiet power of empathy. "We may not always see it," he said, "but every word we speak has the potential to change someone's path, to give them hope when they feel hopeless, to remind them of their worth." The audience felt the depth of Keanu's reflection. His words were simple yet profound. There was no ego, no attempt to impress, just the genuine sharing of experience and gratitude. It was a lesson in humility, one that resonated not only with Steve, but with everyone watching, both in the studio and at home. The moment transcended celebrity, reminding everyone of the extraordinary human capacity for empathy, understanding, and encouragement. Keanu described how he had internalized Steve's words during subsequent challenges. Each time he faced uncertainty, he recalled the encouragement and felt a renewed sense of determination. He spoke about the small victories that followed, moments where he made choices he had previously feared, and how those choices ultimately shaped his life in meaningful ways. The message was clear: encouragement, when received at the right time, can transform doubt into action, fear into courage, and hesitation into growth. Steve's emotions became more visible as the story continued. He had always believed in the power of words, but this was a living example of that belief. Hearing how someone he respected, someone who had faced immense challenges and achieved great success, had been personally influenced by his messages, left him both humbled and inspired. The audience, too, was deeply moved, their applause soft but heartfelt. Recognizing the gravity and authenticity of the moment, Keanu concluded by expressing a final thought about the importance of paying forward the support we receive. He shared that the encouragement he had gained inspired him to do the same for others, to be mindful of the words he shared, and to recognize the unseen impact we have on one another. When we lift someone else, he said, we not only help them, but we also reinforce the goodness and strength within ourselves. That cycle of encouragement can be life-changing. The cameras captured Steve's reaction, his face a mixture of awe and gratitude. He wiped a tear from his eye, his voice trembling slightly. Keanu, I don't even have the words. You've just reminded me why we do what we do, why we try to make a difference, and why even the smallest words can mean the world to someone. Thank you. Truly. The audience erupted into applause again, many standing, some softly crying, all profoundly affected by the emotional honesty of the moment. For a few minutes, time seemed to pause, leaving everyone in the studio fully present, connected by the shared experience of witnessing an ain. The studio was filled with a quiet intensity, a moment of profound stillness that seemed almost sacred. Steve Harvey sat in his chair, his eyes fixed on the screen where Keanu Reeves continued to speak. There was a calmness in Keanu's voice, but behind that calm was a depth of emotion that pulled at the heartstrings of everyone watching. The audience was silent, hanging on every word, fully aware that they were witnessing something rare, something that transcended the usual entertainment of a live show. Steve had heard many stories in his career, many people expressing gratitude or sharing personal struggles. But this was different. This was someone he deeply admired, someone whose work had touched millions around the world, opening his heart in a way that few had ever done on live television. For Steve, the words carried more weight than he could have imagined, and he felt a mixture of surprise, humility, and gratitude rising within him. Keanu leaned slightly forward, his gaze steady, his expression calm yet earnest. There were moments, he said softly, when I doubted myself completely. Times when it felt easier to give up than to continue. But I kept thinking about the words I had heard from you. Steve, that one line, you are never too old to reinvent yourself, kept coming back to me. It reminded me that change is always possible, that we can always start again, and that our past does not define our future. The audience listened, mesmerized. Some had tears glistening in their eyes. Others were nodding quietly, deeply moved by the simplicity and sincerity of the message. There was a sense of shared humanity in the room, a feeling that everyone could relate in some way to the struggles and doubts being described. It was a reminder that no matter who we are, we all face moments of uncertainty. Moments when encouragement from someone else can mean the difference between despair and hope. Steve's hand went to his chest as he felt the words resonate deeply. He had spent decades inspiring people, yet he rarely saw such a personal connection in action. He understood the power of what he had said, but hearing it described in such a raw, heartfelt way made him feel a mix of pride and humility. Pride, because his words had truly mattered. Humility, because he realized the weight of the influence he carries. Often without knowing it, Keanu continued, sharing specific experiences where Steve's words had guided him. He spoke about times when he faced difficult decisions, moments when fear and uncertainty threatened to stop him. Each time he felt doubt creeping in, he remembered that simple but profound message. It gave him the courage to take small steps forward, to trust himself, and to believe that he could navigate whatever challenges lay ahead. He explained how he would repeat the words quietly to himself, almost like a mantra whenever he felt discouraged. Those words, he said, became a source of strength for me. They reminded me that the only limits we have are the ones we put on ourselves. They reminded me to keep moving forward, even when it feels impossible, and to trust that I am capable of more than I realize. Steve's eyes began to glisten, and a lump formed in his throat. He was not used to showing this level of emotion on live television, but in this moment he could not hide it. The sincerity in Keanu's voice, the vulnerability he displayed, and the gratitude he expressed had broken through the professional composure Steve had always maintained. It was one of those rare moments where a person's heart cannot help but respond. Keanu's message then shifted slightly, focusing on the idea of inspiration and its ripple effect. He spoke about how one person's words, even when delivered without any expectation of recognition, can travel farther than imagined. They can reach someone who is struggling, provide hope to someone in despair, or ignite courage in someone who feels powerless. You never know, Keanu said, who is listening, who is watching, or who needs to hear what you have to say. Sometimes the impact is invisible at first, but it can last a lifetime. The audience felt the gravity of those words. There was a shared understanding that inspiration is not always visible, that encouragement often works quietly, behind the scenes, yet its effect can be profound. Steve, absorbing every word, realized that the words he had spoken over the years had traveled further than he had imagined, touching lives in ways he could never fully know. And now, here was Keanu Reeves, one of the most admired actors in the world, telling him directly how those words had shaped his life. Keanu continued to speak about the courage it took to face one's fears and doubts. He shared that the confidence he gained from Steve's words had allowed him to take risks, embrace new challenges, and pursue projects he might otherwise have avoided. He spoke of moments when the fear of failure was strong, but remembering those words gave him the strength to step forward. Courage, he said, isn't about never feeling fear. It's about choosing to move forward even when you do. Steve felt a surge of emotion as he listened. His hands were trembling slightly, and tears began to roll down his cheeks. He tried to maintain his composure, but the sincerity of the moment made it impossible. He realized that this was more than a simple acknowledgement. It was a heartfelt testament to the power of words, kindness, and empathy. It was a reminder of why he had dedicated his life to inspiring others, and it was one of the most moving experiences he had ever had on live television. Keanu's words carried another layer of meaning as he emphasized gratitude. He spoke about how important it is to recognize the people who have influenced us, even indirectly. Expressing appreciation strengthens connections, deepens understanding, and creates a cycle of positivity that can touch countless lives. I wanted to tell you, he said, that I am grateful, not just for your words, but for the hope and courage they gave me when I needed it most. Thank you for unknowingly being a mentor to me. Steve's voice cracked as he responded, overwhelmed by the depth of emotion he felt. Keanu, I don't even have the words. To hear that something I said helped you, it's beyond anything I could imagine. I'm truly honored, and I'm grateful for you sharing that with me. This is one of those moments I'll never forget. His tears flowed freely now, a raw and genuine expression of the connection he felt in that moment. The audience rose to their feet, applauding and cheering, some quietly weeping, moved by the extraordinary exchange. It was not just a conversation between two famous individuals. It was a human moment, one that transcended fame and status. It was about empathy, gratitude, and the profound impact of honest, heartfelt words. Everyone present understood that they had witnessed something rare, something that would stay with them forever. Keanu's voice remained calm and gentle as he concluded his message. He encouraged everyone watching to recognize the power of their own words and actions, to offer encouragement whenever possible, and to understand that even small gestures can have monumental effects. We may not always see it, he said, but the kindness and support we give to others can change the course of their lives. Sometimes it takes just a few words to make a difference. Steve nodded, his tears still flowing, fully aware of the truth in Keanu's words. He realized that his work, his messages, and his efforts to inspire people were not just professional obligations, they were acts of profound human connection. He understood that every word he spoke, every moment he shared, had the potential to impact someone in ways he could never anticipate. And in this moment he saw that impact vividly, expressed by someone he deeply respected and admired. The studio remained alive with emotion as the segment drew to a close. Cameras captured the genuine smiles, the teary eyes, and the heartfelt expressions on both Steve's and Keanu's faces. The audience remained engaged, some still standing, applauding, and sharing quiet whispers of admiration. The moment had transcended ordinary entertainment. It had become a lesson in humanity, empathy, and the extraordinary power of sincere words. Even after the cameras stopped rolling, the impact lingered. People continued to talk about the exchange, reflecting on the importance of encouragement, gratitude, and the unseen influence of positive words. For many, it was a reminder to reach out to someone, to offer support, and to recognize that the simplest messages can have lasting effects. Steve, sitting quietly after the show, reflected on the moment with a deep sense of gratitude and humility. He understood that inspiration is not measured by applause or recognition, but by the lives it touches and the hope it spreads. Keanu's words reminded him of the importance of continuing to speak from the heart, of continuing to offer encouragement whenever possible, and of cherishing the connections formed through honesty and sincerity. Keanu, on the other hand, felt a sense of closure and fulfillment. Sharing his gratitude and personal story allowed him to acknowledge the impact Steve had on his life, strengthening the bond between them even across distance. He had reminded the world that even someone admired globally can be inspired by a single person's words, that influence often comes in subtle, unseen ways, and that gratitude and acknowledgement are powerful forces that connect people in meaningful ways. For the audience, this moment became unforgettable. It was a story they would recount to friends and family, a story that highlighted the extraordinary human capacity for empathy, connection, and emotional openness. It was a demonstration of how sincerity, honesty, and kindness can create a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the immediate moment, touching lives in. Even after the cameras stopped rolling, the energy from the live show lingered in the studio. The audience slowly filed out, still talking softly about the incredible exchange they had just witnessed between Steve Harvey and Keanu Reeves. It was not just a memorable moment on television, it was a powerful reminder of the human capacity for empathy, encouragement, and connection. People couldn't stop sharing how moving it was to see two remarkable individuals expressing such honesty and vulnerability in front of a live audience. Backstage, Steve sat quietly, reflecting on the moment. He had spent decades inspiring others, yet nothing quite compared to hearing firsthand how his words had shaped someone's life. The realization hit him deeply. The impact of his words was far greater than applause, ratings, or recognition. In that instant, he understood the quiet power of influence, the kind that doesn't demand attention but quietly reaches the hearts of those who need it most. Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves, thousands of miles away, felt a profound sense of closure and fulfillment. Sharing his personal story on live television allowed him to express gratitude for someone who had unknowingly guided him through a challenging period in his life. He had always valued humility and honesty, and now he had a chance to honor Steve in a meaningful way. The message wasn't just about fame or admiration. It was about acknowledging the unseen ways people touch each other's lives and the importance of expressing appreciation whenever possible. As news of the exchange spread, clips from the show began circulating online. Social media quickly filled with reactions from people around the world, all touched by the emotional honesty displayed. Viewers praised both Steve and Keanu for being genuine, heartfelt, and unafraid to show emotion on a platform watched by millions. People shared personal stories of times when encouragement or kind words had changed their lives. Drawing inspiration from the profound exchange they had just witnessed, many viewers commented on how rare it is to see vulnerability displayed so openly in public, especially from individuals who are admired worldwide for their accomplishments. Steve Harvey, known for his humor, charisma, and motivational presence, had shown a side of himself that was deeply human, vulnerable, and full of empathy. Keanu Reeves, often seen as quiet and reserved, revealed the transformative impact that someone else's words had on his life. Together, they created a moment that transcended television and touched the hearts of people everywhere. In the days following the broadcast, news outlets and online platforms highlighted the story as one of the most emotional and inspiring live television moments of the year. Headlines focused on the genuine connection, the heartfelt gratitude, and the unexpected ways in which inspiration travels from one person to another. People shared the video repeatedly, not just for the star power involved, but because the story carried a universal message. Words matter, kindness matters, and expressing gratitude can change lives. Steve himself reflected on the wider implications of the moment. He realized that, as someone who speaks publicly, He had a responsibility to continue sharing messages of hope, encouragement, and positivity. But more than that, he understood the importance of listening, of recognizing the moments when someone may be quietly absorbing those messages, and of appreciating the unseen impact that his words could have. For him, the encounter with Keanu became a powerful reminder of why he continues to inspire and uplift people in his work. Keanu, too, took away a meaningful lesson from the experience. He understood the importance of acknowledging those who inspire us, no matter how indirect or unseen their guidance might be. He had been influenced in a quiet, personal way, and sharing that experience publicly reminded the world that gratitude and recognition are essential parts of human connection. He hoped that by sharing his story, he would encourage others to reflect on the people who have shaped their lives and to express their appreciation openly. Even if it seemed small or insignificant for the audience in the studio, the impact of the moment lingered long after the applause had faded. Many people spoke quietly to friends and family about how moved they were, reflecting on their own lives and the ways in which encouragement had influenced them. Some thought about mentors, family members, or even strangers who had offered words of hope and guidance during difficult times. The story became more than entertainment. It became a reminder of the quiet, powerful ways in which human connection shapes lives. Viewers at home also felt the resonance of the exchange. Many took to social media to share their emotions, describing how seeing Steve Harvey, moved to tears by Keanu's gratitude, inspired them to reach out to someone they had been grateful to but had never thanked. Others reflected on the times when a simple word of encouragement had helped them persevere through challenges. The story sparked countless conversations about hope, resilience, and the ripple effects of kindness. One of the most significant aspects of the moment was its relatability. Despite the fame of both individuals, the emotions they displayed were universal. Everyone could understand feeling uncertain, struggling with self-doubt, or needing encouragement at a difficult time. Everyone could relate to the profound impact that someone else's words, even though spoken without expectation, can have on a life. It reminded people that inspiration doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can be quiet, subtle, and deeply meaningful. The story also highlighted the importance of emotional honesty. Both Steve and Keanu demonstrated that showing vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength. It takes courage to speak openly about personal struggles and gratitude, especially on a platform viewed by millions. By sharing their feelings honestly, they not only strengthened the connection between them but also encouraged others to embrace their own emotions, recognize their own challenges, and appreciate the people who support them. For Steve, the emotional impact extended beyond the studio. He began reflecting on the countless interactions he had with people over the years, realizing that the influence of his words often extended far beyond what he could see. It was a powerful reminder that inspiration, encouragement, and support are not always measured by immediate results, applause, or recognition. Sometimes the impact is quiet, subtle, and deeply personal, waiting to be revealed in unexpected ways. Keanu, on his part, felt inspired to continue sharing gratitude and encouragement with others. He realized that acknowledgement is a gift, a way of spreading hope and positivity further than we often imagine. By expressing thanks for the guidance and support he had received, he not only honored Steve but also reinforced the idea that kindness and encouragement are contagious, creating ripples of positive influence that touch countless lives. As the story gained attention, it became clear that the moment would leave a lasting legacy. Social media, news outlets, and online communities celebrated the emotional honesty and genuine connection, highlighting the importance of gratitude, empathy, and the quiet power of words. The story resonated across generations, reminding people that inspiration can come from unexpected places and that expressing appreciation can strengthen bonds in profound ways, even weeks after the broadcast. The clip continued to be shared widely. People from all over the world commented on how the exchange had inspired them to reach out to mentors, friends, or family members to say thank you. Many shared their own stories of encouragement and hope, creating a ripple effect that extended far beyond the initial moment. The story became a symbol of how genuine connection, heartfelt gratitude, and emotional honesty can inspire and uplift people in ways that transcend fame or status. For Steve, the experience became a personal reminder of why he continues his work. It reaffirmed the importance of speaking from the heart, of encouraging others, and of recognizing the unseen impact of his words. It also strengthened his belief in the extraordinary power of empathy and human connection, reminding him that even small gestures of encouragement can change someone's life in ways that are impossible to predict. Keanu also carried the experience forward as a lesson in gratitude, humility, and the ripple effect of inspiration. He realized that acknowledging those who influence us, even indirectly, strengthens human bonds and spreads hope further than we often realize. Sharing his story publicly allowed him to honor Steve and to inspire others to reflect on the people who have shaped their lives in meaningful ways. The audience, the viewers at home, and even those who would hear the story secondhand felt the impact. It was more than a television segment, it was a human story, a testament to the power of words, gratitude, and emotional honesty. It reminded everyone that even in a world filled with distractions, busy schedules, and constant noise, genuine human connection remains one of the most powerful forces. By the end of the story, it was clear that this moment would be remembered for years to come. It was a reminder that inspiration can travel in unexpected ways, that gratitude has the power to deepen connections, and that even small acts of kindness and encouragement can have monumental effects. Steve Harvey and Keanu Reeves had created a shared experience that transcended fame, status, and distance, leaving a lasting impression on everyone who witnessed it. The legacy of the moment was simple yet profound. Words matter, kindness matters, and gratitude matters. By sharing their vulnerabilities, expressing thanks,